Hello, hello. Can everyone hear me? Is my microphone working? I hope so. You can see my office. This is my office is so disorganized. All right. Let's see. Let's test this. Hello. Is there any sound in this? Good morning. Ohayo gozaimasu. Why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? Okay. Sounds good? Okay. Thank you for answering. All right. Ooh, Panama. Nice. All right. Well, this is a great chance for anyone to ask questions about Okinawan longevity since there's so few people here, but that's actually better because then you can ask whatever you want. I have about an hour to answer any questions about Okinawan longevity. I have people come from all over the world to the Okinawa Research Center for Longevity Science. And we get journalists and videographers and people like that all the time. And when they come in person, they can sit down with me and Dr. Makoto Suzuki, the discoverer of Okinawan longevity. And we always sit down and talk with these people in person and have really good conversations. And we always end up teaching them something that they never knew about Okinawan longevity. So that's why I decided that I should start doing lives more to hear what people want to ask and what they this time is misconceptions about longevity, because those misconceptions come up all the time, especially with Dr. Suzuki. People come with questions, especially about food, and he doesn't like that. He wants people to stop asking about food. Those conversations are really good. So I will start with the things that people ask all the time, and then me and Dr. Suzuki will say, that's wrong. And then people are always super shocked. And then they go home to their home country and apparently write articles and stuff about these misconceptions. I haven't seen any so far. I'm looking forward to some of them. It is a little scary, though, because I was thinking on this live to tell some really deep secrets that I only tell in person, but I'm scared of getting sued because there's some powerful people out there that are in the longevity world who have a certain agenda and stuff, and then they'll say something about Okinawan longevity, and then if me and Dr. Suzuki fight that, then it's a little scary. The longevity world is crazy. There's a lot of drama. So will you ever put your teas and supplement on Amazon? So right now, all my stuff is on Amazon. I'm making new teas. So this has to do with the food. So Okinawan food and products are good. You can, right up here. I have a new product right here. That's the sample up there on the shelf. There's my sugar and fucoidon supplement. So I actually ran out of the fucoidon supplements a few weeks ago. The fucoidon supplement is an Amazon stock. Amazon is just taking the longest time to put it in stock on the website. So the supplements and the teas and stuff are on Amazon, but Amazon is the most powerful machine, and I'm at the whim of Amazon. So whatever Amazon says goes. So I'm waiting for Amazon to put that stuff in stock. But I'm actually renewing the fucoidon supplement packaging. So that's going to be very fun. And the sugars are going to be repackaged and stuff. Yeah. But my stuff is always available on my website. So if it's not available on my Amazon, it's available on my website. And there's free shipping. This is a secret for you guys watching. There is a glitch. Not a glitch, but like an intended glitch in the website to give free shipping to pretty much anyone. So if you can figure that out, you can get free shipping. But there's definitely free shipping if you buy a fucoidon supplement. And it'll be shipped right from Okinawa, from the Okinawan post office. Okay, so talking about food. So the sugar, the supplement, the teas, all that stuff is super good for you. But the number one thing that journalists do when they come here is that they talk about Food. They ask, what's the diet? Even Okinawans themselves are getting annoyed with being asked that question. I was with okay, there's an Okinawan elderly lady who is 104 years old. 104. Like, she kept saying she's only 102, and it was so cute. Her son was like, "You're 104," because at that point she was just like, "No, I'm I can't be 104. That's just, I mean, 102 is pretty impressive, but she was 104 years old, and she lived through the war. She lived through her husband passing away. She had her kids. Like, 104 years old is amazing. Her name was Fumi-san calls her. I wasn't allowed to film at that time. I need to get special permission. That's one of the hard parts about Okinawan longevity, is that a lot of people are very wary of being filmed. But when I was talking to her, she said she hates when people ask her what to eat because I was with an interviewer, and the interviewer didn't go there for an interview. It was for photographs. It was a very cool project. But they asked about the food, like, what do you eat? And she was like, it doesn't matter what I eat. Doesn't matter. It was so adorable. She was getting so frustrated and worked up because she also, at the age of 104, keeps getting asked what she ate in order to live to 104. And just like Dr. Suzuki, who's 90 years old, she and him, everyone's getting sick of it because they keep saying, like, I don't think it's food. So very interestingly, they said, okay, so what do you think is the secret to longevity to this 104-year-old? And she said, well, she was actually Christian. She converted to Christianity when she was 33 years old here in Okinawa, which is kind of not rare, but it was kind of surprising that. But anyway, religion and spirituality is connected to Okinawan longevity, no matter what religion or spiritual path you take. And she just said that it was God's decision that she lived to 104. And then we all kind of laugh because it's kind of like, we understand the spirituality part, but we know that there's other factors in play. So when interviewing Okinawans, you're going to get all kinds of different answers. So what you really need to do is look at their lifestyle and ask different questions. Ask them like, well, what did you eat for breakfast? And, oh, did you go on a walk today? Did you go to church every Sunday? Like, things like that. And then you get to really analyze their exercise patterns, their diet patterns, stuff like that. But it was adorable. This 104-year-old, she kept saying hallelujah too. It was it was very cute. In like katakana Japanese, hallelujah. It was very, very cute. But looking at why she lived so long, I think from a research standpoint and just my experience is that belief in spirituality, having her kids. She had 3 children. They're always around, living down the street. She always went to church to meet people. And if we do look at food, she did eat somewhat of an Okinawan diet, but that's the issue. This is key. Everyone asks about food, but if you ask all of these elderly people, they actually all eat various different things. I've watched Okinawan people, I eat with them myself. I eat and drink with them all the time, different people. And they'll have cakes, they'll have pizza sometimes, but then they'll have vegetables, of course, and maybe some sweet potato or rice or something. But their diets are too varied to say, like, here's the second misconception that I want you guys to listen to, is that purple sweet potato. Everyone thinks it's purple sweet potato, for example. The elderly Okinawans actually don't really eat that anymore. They haven't for decades. They're sick of it. They're sick of eating potatoes. And it's just, everyone thinks it's purple sweet potato. The purple sweet potato was on the famous documentary that I think a lot of you have watched, right? And the documentary was slyly edited to make it seem like a certain someone, who's my other sensei, by the way, my other teacher, but that's another story, made it seem like she said purple sweet potato is one of the best foods you can eat. But actually, if you look, I have research articles and personal experience from interviewing Okinawans. If you ask them, did you eat purple sweet potato? Most of them will say not really, or no. Then I'll say, like, because you always ask them, what did you eat? What was the carb that you ate? And they say imo. Imo just means potato. It doesn't tell you what color. So then I have to ask them, was it beni imo, which is purple sweet potato? And they always say satsumaimo, or shiroi shiro ni chikai satsumaimo, which means either yellow sweet potato or a slightly white sweet potato. So they weren't eating purple sweet potato. And it drives me nuts seeing it everywhere because everyone's like, purple sweet potato, oh my God, Okinawan longevity. But that's one of the misconceptions that we're living with here, is that the Okinawans didn't have access to purple sweet potato as much as everyone thinks. They could only grow regular yellow sweet potatoes. It's a whole thing anyway, so misconceptions. I just moved here and I can't understand why food products here don't list sugar. There are a lot of chemicals in their veggies. It's hard to find organic. So that's a great question, Jessica. I heard that you're living here in Okinawa and trying to live the Okinawan longevity lifestyle. If you have the, what to say, if you're living here in Okinawa and visiting and you want to live like an elderly longevity Okinawan, it is difficult because this is another misconception that I wrote down, actually. I'm glad that you asked that. The Okinawan longevity aspect, of course, Okinawa is not the longevity island anymore. A lot of people know that. The obesity rate's increasing for reasons that you said, like there's, people don't have a lot of education about sugar in food anymore. There's a lot of fast food everywhere. Organic is not really a thing here. And that's because it's not just Western influence, it's mainland Japan influence as well. So that's another misconception. A lot of people on my social media will not blame me, but they blame me as an American for affecting Okinawan longevity. And it's not just the Americans and the American bases that ruin this Okinawan longevity. It's actually mainland Japan too. So younger Okinawans are not living that Okinawan lifestyle. And by that, I mean they are working constantly. They're not de-stressing. They're getting too tired to hang out with friends. They live alone. They don't live with family. These are all concepts that are related to Okinawan longevity. And since they hardly cook at home, if they do, it's very quick. It's got lots of sugar or grease or fat or something that's too much in excess in their food. So there's a lot of factors. So it's mainland Japan and America who are kind of influencing this Okinawan younger generation, and that's why the culture is dying away and Okinawan longevity is decreasing. So when you're here, what I suggest to do, because this is how I live an Okinawan longevity lifestyle, food-wise, so organic, it's hard to find organic vegetables. So Okinawa is just Japan now, and Japan in general does not have very strict organic rules. There is organic food sometimes in some places, but it's quite expensive, unfortunately. What I would suggest to you is to go to Happy More. It's a farmer's market here, very cool. I filmed there once with Michael Mosley. Unfortunately, he passed away, but one time this guy, he created the 800 fast diet or the 500 calorie diet. He's a doctor. He created a diet. He's from United Kingdom, England, and he came here. He went to Happy More, and I showed him around. It was super cool for a TV show. And Happy More has some organic food or vegetables, but not all of it. So yeah, it's hard. It's hard now for Okinawans to even live their own lifestyle. So organic parts, I wouldn't worry too much about. But sugar-wise, yeah, the labeling here in Japan is very surprising. You don't have to list the amount. It's not as strict as America. This is my personal opinion. I think it's because Japan's health isn't that bad yet. It's not like in a health crisis like America is. So it's kind of hard to work with those regulations. But my tip for anyone living in Okinawa or America or England or Australia, it doesn't matter where you are, don't get too focused on like calculating every calorie and reading all these labels. Just keep it very simple. What I do, I just go to a farmer's market, whichever one's closest to me. I just buy vegetables and fruits, and then I get a carb, which is usually rice or pasta. They're both good for you because it's not just Okinawan longevity. It's also Italian longevity or Greek longevity as well. Those are also blue zones. And just keep it really simple. Just use the spices in your kitchen and just make whatever you can from that. I don't buy like protein bars. I avoid chips. Not all the time. I eat chips sometimes, but don't eat just don't get things in packages. That's pretty much how I shop here, and it's easy. It's easy. Don't think about it. Just keep it simple. When you go to the supermarket, don't buy all the processed packaged stuff. Some stuff is okay though. Tofu. If you're here in Okinawa, I suggest you get island tofu. It's at the any supermarket here in Okinawa. It's in the refrigerated section by the vegetables. Tofu is a big part of the Okinawan diet. It was a large part of their protein, and it's very good for you. Another misconception is that tofu does not turn you into a woman. It doesn't. There's this thing. People think that estrogen is making, in tofu, and it's really bad for you. But I don't know how American tofu is made. I'm sure it's not that great, but Okinawan tofu is perfectly fine. And I would suggest eating tofu. Feel free to go into it. Or look it up, Google it. Tofu it's really good. I hate that misconception when people think that tofu turns you into a woman or messes with your estrogen and all that stuff. But the Okinawans eat a lot of tofu, like a lot, like mountains of it, and they are hairy and they are manlier than the mainland Japanese people. Okay, so just look at the Okinawans and what they eat, and if they're eating that, that's a good sign that it's okay. And tofu is one of those. So yeah, it's very rare to see an Okinawan customer looking at ingredients. It's rare for a younger Okinawan to even know what the traditional diet is. My specialty was long life herb. It's fukoidan as well, but long life herb. Plant-wise, it's called chomeso. I researched it in the University of Ryukyu's here in Okinawa, and that's how I introduced myself. Hi, my name is Christal. I came to, because everyone wants to know, why'd you come to Okinawa? So I came here to go to the agriculture department to learn about longevity, because I thought the key to longevity was plants. And then you have to specialize. So I specialized in long life herb, chomeso. And then I always say, like, do you know chomeso? And 90% of Okinawans don't know it, especially the younger people. It's very sad. So not only are they not really paying attention to what's in the supermarket, but they don't know the traditional ingredients in their prefecture's diet, their island's diet. So it's very unfortunate. So I wish that more people would pay attention, because the obesity rate in Okinawa is increasing. It's really bad. And what can you do? Social media, influence people, like an influencer. The government has tried to make policies or campaigns and stuff, but it's not really working. So I wish I could get involved and help the younger generation realize that they should keep up with these traditions, but it's a whole plan that hopefully will work someday. Opinion on hyperbaric chambers for longevity. That's a good question. That's like, so there's like the holistic longevity community, and then there's like the hardcore longevity community. I'm looking at both. So I'm more, when I say holistic, because Okinawans, one of the reasons that the longevity happened in Okinawa is because there were no doctors, there were no nursing homes. So because of that, they had to strive to be walking and talking and functioning as long as possible, and also living with their family. So this goes into another misconception I also wrote down, is that Dr. Suzuki says that doctors and nursing homes actually worsened the health of people, because of those, you get kind of lazy. They don't heal themselves through food anymore, called nuchigusui, which is something that they used to do. What was it? I forget the Japanese word. Ichidogen, something, yeah, healing yourself through food. And then we have so that's like the natural way that Okinawans lived a really long time. And then we have the hardcore longevity community, where they take NMN, which is a huge dramatic drama legal battle right now in America, I think. It's a supplement that David Sinclair really promoted. Also within that, resveratrol is another supplement people are taking for longevity. And then also like hyperbaric chambers. I heard they're good. I don't think any exist in Okinawa, so I've never been in one. But like asking about hyperbaric chambers and then looking at how the Okinawans lived, it's very difficult. It's hard to say, because the Okinawans didn't grow up with any of this stuff, and they lived past 100 years old, walking, talking, and functioning. I think if you go in a hyperbaric chamber, it's probably okay, probably good. But at the same time, the people that are going to the chambers and the people that are taking these supplements, I want to ask you, how is your social life and how is your mentality? Because those are just as important, but you don't see them in research articles. You don't see them in forums and stuff because you can't test those things very well, right? They're very controversial. Like, how do you ikigai? That's 100% connected to longevity, having an ikigai. Ikigai is your passion for life, your reason for living. When people don't want to live anymore, they don't want to live anymore and they start deteriorating. It's natural. So, all these. So if you have ikigai, are you hanging out with friends as well? Living alone is not natural for humans. And the Okinawans are great at hanging out with other people. They have something called moais. A moai is when people would get together once a month and they exchange money. And the purpose of exchanging money is to increase trust and also help each other out financially. And then they also drink and eat and talk and be kind and always be friends and just have a good time. So the people that are in the very hardcore longevity community, I also want to ask, doing these supplements and stuff is great and all, but also do the simple things. And the simple thing is having a good social life, which a lot of people don't want to listen to. Excuse me. So there was a blue zone, what do you call it, convention here in Okinawa last year, or was it 2 years ago, where all these researchers came up from all over the world. And Dr. Suzuki led the Blue Zone committee or convention, or it was just a bunch of presentations about research. And I attended. And I also asked all the scientists their opinion behind the scenes. I didn't, because you don't want to, put them on the spot in front of people. So, and I couldn't film this as well because this is their opinion that they didn't want on camera, which is the hard part about doing YouTube. All the good stuff you can't film. But I can say that I asked them what they thought about herbal medicine. The Okinawans healed themselves with food and herbs back in the day. So I say, like, what do you think about that? Or what do you think about ikigai and mental health to longevity? All of them said it is 100% connected to longevity. They just can't put their reputation on the line in a sense, because once you start going into that kind of, spiritual, philosophical realm, then people will start discrediting you. Now, Dr. Suzuki does not care about that. He is 90 years old. He is done with everyone's shiznit. And he will talk about, in his presentation, he was like, hey, guys, and he had a graph. This is ikigai. This is social connections, moais. Hey, it's all connected to longevity. And of course, no one's going to discredit him. He's the walking, talking example of Okinawan longevity. Although he's not Okinawan himself, you don't have to be Okinawan to live a long time. Genes is only a small portion of this, and you can change your genes, epigenetics, but that's another topic. And he says all the time, ikigai, social life. Like, start focusing on that because people are not focusing on it. Very cool about Dr. Suzuki, what he does is that he is a cardiologist. He's a doctor. He's still doctoring. He still goes to the hospital Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. And he has bunches and bunches of patients. And the very cool thing is that, you ask him, so what do you do with your patients? Because him and his patients are kind of the same age, right? He's 90. His patients are also probably in their 70s, 80s, 90s. And he doesn't just prescribe medicine. He said that he will sit down with them for 30 to 45 minutes and talk about their ikigai. So he's a cardiologist, but he looks at their whole body. Like, he gives them a check, right? Look at their head, ask them if there's anything wrong with their stomach or anything, look at their feet, make sure everything's okay. And then he will ask them about their ikigai, and he'll have a good talk with them and he said 30 to 45 minutes, which is rare these days, right? If you go to the doctor, I've had doctors here in Okinawa not even hardly look at me and just throw a book at me and be like, this is your symptom. Okay. And write something down and then tell me to go. So having a doctor sit with you, look at you in the eyes for 30 to 45 minutes and talk about your reason for waking up in the morning, that's absolutely fascinating. And it's got to be golden for these people to be able to talk with their doctor and give them motivation for life, because that's ikigai, is being motivated to keep living and striving and doing more and being happy. So it's very cool that Dr. Suzuki does that. Learned a lot from him. Very great stuff. Very good stuff. And he is an example of, I'm in his moai as well, going back to social connections. Our moai is once a month. It's the third Saturday of the month. So it'll be next Saturday, not this Saturday. And we exchange 10,000 yen, which is like the equivalent of $100. And there are also other elderly Okinawans in this moai. I am the outlier, obviously. I'm not an elderly Okinawan, but I know them all very well. I had to visit as a guest a few times for them to trust me. And then when they restarted, moais have cycles. So when the cycle finished, I said, "Can I enter the moai?" And they said yes. So now I'm in Dr. Suzuki's moai. So every week during that, we meet in the afternoon. We bring our own little bento lunchbox, and then we go to his house, and we sit down and we eat, and then we talk. It's very, very, these people, when you get to that age, and if your family doesn't come to visit you anymore, having a moai is absolutely fantastic. Just like think about when you're older, and if you never had kids, or if you have kids and they don't want to see you anymore. Or not just that, if they live in a different country, like for me, I don't live in America with my family, you get very lonely. So the moais are absolutely fantastic for keeping away loneliness, which is also something that will severely decrease your lifespan. Loneliness is said, a research article put out that loneliness is the equivalent of smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. That's how bad loneliness is, because it severely affects your mentality, which in turn, right, if you're depressed and you're lonely, you are not motivated to exercise. You're not motivated to eat healthy. You're not motivated to be fully functioning and aware at your job so that you can contribute more. Like it's connected to a lot of different things. So preventing loneliness is super, super key. And you can't deny this, because if you look at COVID, right, when the coronavirus happened, and it affected Okinawa for like 3 years. It was a long time. But remember when everyone had to stay at home, and then the rates of depression started increasing because people couldn't hang out with other people anymore. It was a huge thing. So that was like a perfect example of being isolated and alone severely hurting you, and that will in turn hurt your lifespan and your health. COVID severely affected Okinawa. It was really bad. Before COVID, when I would talk to Okinawans, I would ask them, how many moais are you in? How many monthly gathering of friends are you in, like the little groups? And some people would say 10 moais. They're in 10 moais. That means 10 times per month they would meet all their friends. So that's like a lot of meetings, and it would do it every single month. And that has to be great for your social life. Some were in 5, some were in 6. And then COVID happened, and now we're back to normal. And I asked them, the same people, how many moais are you in? And they say 1, or they say none. And I say, what happened? Before COVID, how many moais were you in? And they would say 5, 6, 7. So, well, why don't you bring back those moais and be in a moai again? And then they say, like, just during COVID, people just moved away. Some passed away. Some just don't answer their phone anymore. They lost that motivation to get together again, which is really, really sad. So I highly suggest, if you, in wherever you are, to make a moai. It sounds cheesy, like hang out with your friends for your longevity, but it's actually really, really important. I've experienced it as well, being alone here for much of the beginning of the time I lived in Okinawa. I didn't have a lot of friends my age. When at university I did, but when I graduated, some of my friends moved to different prefectures, and everyone got a job, and they were super busy and tired to hang out. So I really felt that loneliness, and I always wished that I could be in a moai. Even now, I do want to make a moai. I'm still having difficulty finding people to be in my moai. But if you have a close, group of friends, please make a moai. So the moai is, you pick one day a month. So it could be, you don't pick a number. You pick you don't say the 15th of every month, because the 15th might fall on a day that's hard for everyone to meet. What you do is you pick, let's see, like the second Tuesday or the third Thursday, whatever day is best for people. Pick the place, try to do the same place, meet at the same restaurant, meet with the same people, and exchange whatever amount of money you want. If you don't exchange money, that's not a moai. Dr. Suzuki is very strict about this. If you don't exchange money in your moai, then it's a fake moai. That's what he calls it. It's very interesting. And I guess some people are maybe uncomfortable with exchanging money, but the point of a moai is to only meet with people you really, really trust. Trust is a huge deal these days. And when you exchange money, there's something that really builds that trust. I've been screwed over a few times by friends when it comes to money, and it's broken the trust. So, trusting people is extremely important for that. What exercise do you think is the best for longevity? That's a great question. This is also not really a misconception, but some people, how do you say this? Exercise of course is great. So let's look at the Okinawans and how they exercised. The Okinawans obviously did not do CrossFit, right, which is a very intense exercise. They didn't do 75 hard, which is another intense, very strict exercise regimen. The Okinawans just moved all day, pretty much. They were always walking or always doing chores. Many Okinawans did karate, or many Okinawans had to take care of children, take care of their family. So if you look at these people, even people in Italy, the blue zone in Italy as well, and it's just walk. Yeah, if you're in your 70s, walk the mountains to and from the market and run as well. That's perfect. That's pretty much, you're great. Like, it's when people become sedentary, it's really bad. But I would never suggest that you have to go super hard 5 times a week, do crazy weight training and lift weights. I mean, that's great. You should lift heavy things, because the Okinawans naturally lifted heavy things. It's great for bone density and for your muscles, so you can live a long time. But don't go crazy. Like some people take exercise, like I've heard terms about exercise like level 1, level 2, level 3, and I had no idea what they were talking about. Some people take exercise to the extreme. So let's think about it. Bodybuilders, they look great. They have very low life expectancies, bodybuilders. They put extreme stress on their organs, right? They look cool, kind of. I don't think bodybuilders look that great, but they look a little they look like clouds to me. But you look at their life expectancy, they're not living super long. People like the Liver King. He's actually another example I like to talk about. Now, the Liver King is a very buff guy who promotes a only meat diet. I think he likes vegetables as well, though. He just doesn't talk about it. Apparently, he really likes purple sweet potato, but I guess that's a secret. I don't know. But people that look like the Liver King, obviously not good for you, not going to have a long life expectancy. So taking exercise to any extreme is not good. Just walking, sometimes running, sometimes with lifting weights. Just try to do it consistently. That's it. That's all the Okinawans did. None of them went to gyms, right? They didn't have gyms back then. The elderly Okinawans I know now definitely don't go to a gym. But what they do, for example, there's a moai that I attend with a bunch of elderly Okinawans. I'm not in it because it's actually very expensive. It's 30,000 yen a month, which is like the equivalent of like $300. So I don't go. I'm not in it, but I go as a guest sometimes. And there's one elderly Okinawan woman who lives quite far away, and they're obviously not allowed to drive anymore at that age because it's not safe. So I ask her, how do you get to this moai? And she says she walks to the bus stop. She waits at the bus stop. She gets on the bus, and then she gets off the bus to the next city where the moai is, and then she walks to the moai. And then she does that on the way back too. And thinking about her, she's 92, and like imagining an elderly woman do all that work to come drink, and she drinks a lot of alcohol. she's a cool woman. She drinks like a ton of whiskey, like 6 glasses, and she doesn't even get crazy drunk. She's like, yeah, 6 glasses of whiskey, this is normal for me. And then she goes home, like walks to the bus stop again, and then gets on the bus and then gets off, like, right? Like, so it's just stuff like that, like them walking to the supermarket, walking to the bus stop, moving their body. Now, Okinawa, just like America and other countries, we have car culture. Unfortunately, me, myself as well, don't walk as much. I try to walk to the supermarket. It is close by. The bank and stuff, that's close by for me. But most people, they just don't walk anymore. Sometimes the supermarket's not that close, so you get in a car, and then you just don't do as much exercise. So really, keeping it simple is the great. But do whatever you like as well. I wouldn't say like only walk, only do 10,000 steps a day, which is something someone made up just to motivate people to do 10,000 steps a day. It's a good question if the Okinawans actually do 10,000 steps a day. I'm sure they're close to it, but I think it's probably more around 6 to 8,000. All of my elderly neighbors walk to the store like 4 or 5 times a day. Yeah, right, exactly. So mostly age 70 up. I see them too in Okinawa. I see Okinawans when I'm driving. I'll see them holding their bag of food, which is clearly from the supermarket, because the supermarket plastic bags. And they're just walking around, and they go to the supermarket, and then I see them like stop under a tree or stop at a bench and just sit there and look around and then walk some more. And then when they do that, they're exercising, but they're also socializing, because I see them and they're always looking for someone to talk to. So they make their exercise fun. If so, the best exercise for longevity is the one you enjoy the most. Seriously, like I like weight training, and sometimes I used to go to a gym. I haven't been in a while. This is my excuse. See, I'm not doing it. I've been too busy. But I prefer weight training and walking and sometimes running. But that's just what I enjoy. Some people just like to jog. I know an elderly Okinawan who's 87 and he jogs almost every single day. Very cool. But at the same time, so just like the ladies we see walking around, enjoying the AC, going to the supermarket, they're also looking to talk. So this 87-year-old Okinawan man that I know, he jogs all the time. And he also said that he will see a group of elderly Okinawan women at the same place, always at the same time, and he will jog by them every single day and talk to them. So, people say like, oh, this social stuff is just mumbo jumbo and it's not important and it's super cheesy, but just I could look at their lifestyle and it's always talking to other people. They're walking around. I've had people just say hello to me. There's a guy that sells vegetables near me who's very old as well. And one time I walked by and he just said like, oh, today's hot, isn't it? Like they want to talk. Like they're moving their body, they're eating well, but more importantly, like everything their life surrounds is trying to talk to people. The people in the supermarkets that you see walking around, they will sit on a bench and then start talking to the fellow elderly person next to them. It's very cool. Like, think about it. How many people do you just go up to and talk to in a day? I know talking to strangers these days is a little dangerous depending where you are, especially America. But that's the cool thing about Okinawans and Okinawan longevity is that they would just talk to anyone all the time. On the topic, this is still the topic of exercise. See, everything is connected. Everything is woven together like a spider web. But the 87-year-old Okinawan who jogs every day, in an interview for someone else that I just helped translate, but when I was translating, this guy was saying fascinating stuff, and he said that back in the day in Okinawa, when it was really the Okinawan lifestyle, people would walk, right? Exercise. People would walk around, not be in cars, and because they're walking around, they'd walk in front of your house. Naturally, because Okinawan houses are just scattered all over. There's no such thing as neighborhoods where, the houses are closed off. The houses are scattered everywhere. So elderly Okinawans would walk by, and then the person, the elderly, or not even elderly Okinawans, anyone walking by, there'd be an elderly Okinawan woman just sitting there, and she would say like, hey, wait, come here, drink tea and something. And then the person would go in and drink tea and they'd talk. And then the person would finish and then go about their day. So people used to walk around all the time and then talk to each other, call each other over, give each other vegetables. That was the exchange. Always giving each other vegetables. I get vegetables all the time. I got free mangoes too the other day. Very cool. And so they're always giving. They're always just hanging out. This 87-year-old also never locked his door ever. Other Okinawans would just come in his home and just say, hey, I brought, what are you doing? I brought some vegetables. And then they drink tea and then they leave. And then they didn't even knock on the door. They just come in and just say, hey, like, could you imagine doing that today? Just leaving your door open, going for a walk and then coming back and then or going for a walk and just entering someone's house. Not random people. Obviously they knew each other, but you got to meet someone for the first time eventually. So it's just super cool. Like everything was connected. The exercise, the drinking the tea, right? They didn't go in and drink soda. They went to go visit and drink tea. So, drinking and eating healthy, walking around, talking to people, and obviously given this is not stressful at all. They didn't have a stressful life. So stress is the number one indirect killer of people. A lot of people don't talk about this enough, but stress is the number one, without a doubt, indirect killer of human beings, because stress is linked to heart disease, right? Stress is linked to a lot of your blood flow, a lot of different things. So people need to take de-stressing more seriously, but it's easier said than done. But the Okinawan lifestyle is extremely low stress. Right? Like I would love to not have to work all day and just walk around and walk to the supermarket and then say hi to my friends and then go home. Not to say that the Okinawans, of course, when they were younger, they worked, but at the same time, like I said, mainland Japan made it so they had to work 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. like a Japanese salaryman, which is like in Tokyo, right? Back in the day, it wasn't like that. Like they were more low stress, chill, Okinawan work lifestyle, which is a lot slower than other places, sometimes too slow. But their work lifestyle and their at home lifestyle was very chill, low stress, just living the good life, honestly. So they've got basically a well planned out schedule, the same almost every day. Yeah, that's right. They always have they always have a steaming hot pot of green tea ready. Yeah, they have the same schedule. Which is good for keeping up with your longevity lifestyle activities, keeping up with the same schedule, because their lives were so chill. There wasn't like crazy, like there's nothing crazy going on. So you could keep that same schedule every day. And if you have the same schedule every day, you're not too stressed out. Like sometimes my schedule is very chill, and then sometimes I have a million things to do in the day, and then I start freaking out, and it gets very stressed out, and I can't do the one thing that I wanted to do. Working too much, so I can't exercise, stuff like that. So as an American, I plan to visit Okinawa. What percentage of Okinawans speak English? That's a great question. Like, not many Okinawans speak English, unfortunately. So if we're talking about visiting here, you shouldn't have too many problems. The hotels, the people that work at hotels, some hotels don't speak English. I've heard people complain about hotels not speaking English and then being shocked, because this is a tourism island and they should be able to speak English to an extent. So maybe some younger Okinawans can speak it. Maybe people in their 40s and 50s can speak it. But when you get to, like, for example, I've had people ask me if they want to come here to Okinawa and learn about Okinawan longevity, and they want to interview Okinawans and stuff, and they want to do it themselves. And I say, like, first, can you speak Japanese? With the Okinawan dialect, or Okinawan language, not dialect, but because Okinawans here don't just speak Japanese. They speak an Okinawan version of Japanese or just Okinawan language. So if you don't know that, then you can't talk to these elderly Okinawan people at all without a translator, a good translator who knows Okinawan language. But yeah, most of them can't speak English. Now, not to say that none can speak English. I know a lot of younger Japanese people. A lot of my friends can speak conversational English. Some Japanese people who work on base can speak English. Some Japanese people work on the American bases here. So some of them can speak English, and some of them surprisingly can't at all, and they still work on the American base. So that's a hard question. If you want to visit here and just do regular tourist activities, you should be okay. There's most people that are in that, if that's their job, they can probably speak English to an extent. But if you want to come here for the longevity aspect, you're going to need someone like me or hire a translator and make out your own schedule. So what I do is I do longevity tours here sometimes. It's not my main job, but if someone wants to use me, mostly journalists is how it started. A lot of journalists kept coming to Okinawa, and I kept taking them on like a tour to show them the food and introduce them to people. And at the same time, I had to translate. So for the journalists, I realized I was doing tours, so I might as well just offer tours to anyone who wants it. So I would take them up north and then translate a conversation with an elderly Okinawan and then teach them the food that we were eating, the longevity food, because there's very few restaurants that serve longevity food here, or the traditional Okinawan diet food. It's very unfortunate. It's very expensive as well. So Okinawans cannot go to these restaurants on a daily basis because it's quite expensive, which is very unfortunate as well. Yeah, and then I would do these longevity tours, take you around a supermarket, explain what's sold at the supermarkets. Yeah, because without a translator or someone who like I can translate, and if someone doesn't have the knowledge, then you can't do a longevity tour, you can't do a longevity trip, you can't, I wish Okinawa had blue zone, what is it called? Health tourism. Health tourism is not a thing here. Isn't that crazy? When I first came here to study Okinawan longevity, I was before I was in Tokyo at first, and I was expecting health tourism, health hotels, blue zone journalists, blue zone videographers, blue zone YouTubers, all that kind of stuff. There's no one, and that was 9 years or 8 years ago when I came here, and it's been 8 years, and there's still no one except for me. And maybe there's a professor I know at a university who's trying to do a blue zone wellness thing, but he doesn't speak English. But anyway, there's no one doing anything here besides me, Dr. Suzuki, really, about promoting this blue zone longevity aspect. Absolutely fascinating that there's really nothing there for it. So if you go to Thailand, which I will be doing in January, to attend to see the health tourism thing that, economy that they have there. And looking at the pictures in Thailand of the health tourism they have there, very cool, very expensive looking, but they got it down. Like they do the whole 9 yards. They got yoga, they have the food, they have the swimming and the relaxing and just I don't even know, like, because health tourism is not a thing here in Okinawa. It's very unfortunate. So that's something I would like to make one day. If anyone has any suggestions about health tourism. I wish it didn't have to be too expensive, but sounds like health tourism is one of those things. So reading and writing is more of a thing. Not too many will speak English. Yeah. 20 years before I found you could speak. Yeah, some Okinawans can speak English, but they're so scared to speak it that they hide it from you. I've had that. I've been tricked. I hate being tricked by Okinawans or Japanese people in general when they say, like, I can't speak English. And then I'll say something in English and then they can understand me. And I don't know. I just feel so deceived when Japanese people pretend they can't speak English. Just tell me you can. Don't tell me you can't. Like, I know they're embarrassed and stuff, but yeah. English is not the best in Japan in general, which does affect the economy in a way. Not just Okinawa, but other prefectures. Because if you want more money coming from outside the country in, you should speak the language of the people. But anyway, that has nothing to do with longevity. Oh, my nose. Okay, so just a few more minutes here. I don't want to, unless anyone else has any more questions about Okinawa longevity. I have a few more misconceptions that I'll go over, but if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. But one thing is that meat. I didn't talk about meat yet. It's like saving best for last. But the Okinawans, and not just the Okinawans, the Italians and people in Greece as well, Greek people. Those are the 3 blue zones. I keep saying 3. I know there are 5, but if you talk to researchers, a lot of researchers say that Costa Rica and California are not really blue zones. That's another drama thing happening in the community. So I'm just going to go with what researchers refer to, which is Okinawa, Greece, and Italy. So those are the 3 top blue zones, I guess I'll say. And they all eat meat. 100%. The biggest misconception that happens is that Okinawans hardly ate meat, or they were practically vegan, or they're practically vegetarian. If you interview them, they'll all say adamantly, absolutely not. They ate meat whenever they could, how often as ever they could, if they could get their hands on it. Not to say that they did not eat a ton. I'm not saying like go crazy with meat and do the carnivore diet. Of course not. Like the Liver King. That's absolutely ridiculous. But meat was part of the diet. If you are vegetarian or vegan, that's absolutely fine. Just be careful. I have never heard of a vegan or vegetarian who lived past 100. If you have, please send me the link to them because it hasn't existed yet. So what was the meat that the Okinawans ate? That's a great question. Is that they would eat fish. They would eat fish sometimes. If we're talking way back in the day, it would be fish sometimes, but it was hard to preserve fish. So it wasn't, they were eating a ton of fish. But what they did have was pork. Thanks to China. A lot of influence in Okinawa came from China because back in the day, they used to trade with China. Okinawa used to be its own country in a sense. It used to be the Ryukyu Kingdom, and they used to trade with Japan, China, and other countries. And thanks to China, that's why Okinawa has sweet potato and pig. So when the sweet potato was able to be grown in large portions, that's when the raising of pig livestock also boomed because they were able to feed the pigs this carb, this healthy, calorie dense carb, the potato. Excuse me. So the meat was fish sometimes, and then it was pork. Not every day, but some people think that it was only festivals. I wouldn't. In my interviews, people, it didn't sound like it was only festivals. Mainly festivals, yes, but they did have it other times. A lot of people did have pigs, own pigs, raised pigs, chickens. Some people had chickens at some point. So they would eat chickens. If they were very poor, and if this was during or after the war, and they had practically nothing, which I've interviewed Okinawans, and they have said that they would eat frogs or they would eat rabbits. They would eat anything they saw jumping around because again, they weren't like save the earth, save the environment. They were survive, okay? Right? They were in survival mode. So they would eat anything they could find. Of course, they ate lots of vegetables and stuff too as well, but meat was a big part. It was an important part of the diet. But if you're thinking about what kind of diet you should eat, the Okinawan diet has meat is not the main dish. That's just the easiest key to say. Meat is not the main dish. Make meat your side dish and make other things your main dish. So carbs, vegetables, tofu, anything else. Edamame, is edamame a thing here? Edamame is a thing here now. But edamame, I don't think edamame was a huge, it's not a part of the traditional diet. I think edamame came from mainland Japan. Beans, lentils, that stuff wasn't really, it was mostly soybeans. If we're talking about beans, it was mostly, right, tofu. I think maybe some people made some versions of natto, but soybeans was the bean here in Okinawa. I've never heard of anyone saying they really ate edamame here. I have to look that up actually, how to cultivate edamame, because if you look at how plants are cultivated, if it can't be cultivated in a subtropical area, it probably was not eaten by the Okinawans. Rice, for example, very difficult to cultivate in Okinawa. Also, Okinawa had a very small amount of land space. Okinawa is a small island, so if it's hard to cultivate, it takes up a lot of land space, probably wasn't made. So after the war, Okinawans got hooked on Spam. It's got to be the Spam capital. Yeah, I never had Spam. So you only had Spam 2 times before coming to Okinawa. I never had Spam either before. Spam was seen as like the weird poor person's food or gross food or military food. And then I had Spam. Spam tastes fantastic. Unfortunately, I'm not supposed to say that, but it does taste good. Like Spam does taste, it was made to taste good. It's in the Okinawan diet now. Dr. Suzuki hates Spam. Sometimes he'll say like Spam is the reason everyone is so unhealthy now. It's very funny. I mean, obviously it's not the only reason. Of course, it affected Okinawan longevity, but Spam is, yeah, it's part of the Okinawan diet now. Do people eat a ton of Spam? That's a great question. I did an interview once on my Instagram. I asked all of my followers in Japanese, do you eat Spam every day or once a week or once a month? And most people answered once a month. Okinawans are not downing Spam as much as everyone thinks. I've had people comment on my videos and stuff saying, well, Okinawans eat Spam every day. They eat tons of it. That's not really true. If you come here, live here, have Okinawan friends, and you hang out with them and eat with them and stuff, or even ask them, they're not eating spam like all the time. Okay, like yeah, they eat it. It's in goya champuru, which is like a bitter melon mix of vegetables. Sometimes it's in it, sometimes it's not. So spam, yes, is not good for you. If you're gonna eat it sometimes. I only eat it only sometimes, very rarely. If it's in goya champuru, I'm not gonna be like, I'm not eating it because there's spam in it. Like, and even when spam is in goya champuru, it's very small amounts. So yeah, it's unfortunately part of the diet now, but it's nothing. It's not the number one, killer of Okinawa longevity. Um, that's the hard part about food, is that sometimes people take it, they get too stressed about it, like people say like never eat this and never eat this and never eat this. That's hard. It's too hard sometimes. If you're trying to suggest a diet to someone, you don't want to have resistance. My dad, for example, is someone who tries diets every month. He's trying a new diet, and obviously it doesn't work because it's either too difficult, hard to do in the long run. You're going to have too much resistance. You're not going to be happy, right? Diet. It's a little play on words, but diet has the word die in it because it's not very fun. I don't even like to say Okinawan diet. I just do that for the sake of conveying what I'm saying. But really, Okinawan, it's a food lifestyle. Like, it's not a diet for them. It's just their everyday lifestyle. So I love sweets. What dessert do you recommend? Not Okinawa, but anywhere. That's a great question, because looking here, I have sugar. I sell Okinawan sugar because, it's a health product, but it's sugar because Okinawans did eat sugar. They did eat dessert growing up. So if I were to recommend a dessert, um, that's a good question. So if we're going to go off the Okinawan longevity aspect, sugar is a big controversial topic, right? The reason I sell this Okinawan dark brown sugar is because the Okinawans, when they were working in the field, because a lot of them were farmers, when they were farming under this very hot sun, they would take this dark brown sugar that they make. It's part of their culture. They make it all the time for decades and decades and decades. They would take a cube of this dark brown sugar, pop it in their mouth, and then start farming and keep on farming the fields. It is the equivalent of Gatorade or Pocari Sweat, which is the Gatorade of Okinawa or Japan, which is just like a sports drink. But they would take the sugar and put it in their mouth because it had vitamins, minerals, and obviously calories, the sugar, to keep them going under the sun. The dark brown sugar is special because in America, in most other countries, I'm sure, but in America specifically, dark brown sugar is white sugar processed and then with molasses added to it. So it's processed twice. That is what brown sugar is in America. Okinawan dark brown sugar is sugar cane squeezed, boiled, and hardened, and that's it. They don't take away and they don't add. They just take the pure sugar cane and make it into sugar. And obviously they filter it so you don't have any, dirt pieces or stuff you don't want in it. But I mean, it's unrefined. It's not processed twice or even once. It's completely unrefined sugar. So looking at these long living people, the Okinawans, they ate this dark brown sugar. Is very cool, right? So, you think longevity, you think no sugar, but these people ate sugar straight, and they still do. If you go to their house, you know how grandmas and grandpas at their house, when you visit, they have like a little glass bowl or bowl or something, and they always have like weird candies in it that as children you didn't really like those candies because they were like old people candy. That is what dark brown sugar is. In Okinawa, you go to grandma, grandpa's house, they always have dark brown sugar in their little bowl. And because of that, though, the younger generation doesn't eat it as much because it's seen as an old person's food. But I sell it in overseas, and it's selling great because it's very rare type of sugar. It's actually like a very deep, dark tasting sugar. And the dark brown sugar, Okinawan dark brown sugar, is not made in the States. It's not sold by anyone in the States. It's only made by Okinawa, and then I ship it. So very cool stuff. So what they ate, to tell you what they ate, the Okinawans, they used dark brown sugar because they didn't have white sugar. That wasn't a thing. And they would make satandagi, for example. It's like a donut. So it's you call it? It's like wheat and dark brown sugar, and they like mix it up into these balls. So it's pretty much just like a donut, a fried donut. So they did make satandaki fried donuts, which sounds very unhealthy, but that's what they ate. Dark brown sugar. What other kind of desserts do they have? They have, I don't know. They use dark brown sugar for a lot of desserts. I mean, there weren't a ton of desserts though. And I'm not saying like desserts are bad. I eat dessert all the time, but just think about like what's in the dessert. So try to. I mean, it's hard. I don't want to say like avoid white sugar for the rest of your life. That's pretty much impossible. But just they didn't eat it like constantly, overeat it. They would just have it sometimes. So they have satandagi, they have dark brown sugar. What did they make back in the day? I'd have to look at my recipe book a little bit more. I don't have a ton of dessert options in there because it wasn't a huge part of the diet, but look more about the ingredients. If we're talking about dessert, I wouldn't say like a specific dessert. I would say like look what's inside your dessert. Food coloring, right? It's not good. That's food coloring is being linked to a lot of things. Okinawans never used food coloring. If they did, it was natural. Sugar, having good healthy sugar, which is like, what is that? But dark brown sugar is an example of a good sugar. I hope that kind of answers the question about dessert. But so I'll look at that. I'll look into that more. That's a very good question. For the dark brown sugar, dark brown Chuck style sugar is like spinach to Popeye. My company spices the workers during the day, especially in the summertime. That's so funny. Yeah, the dark brown sugar, it literally is. It's like a pick me up. It's like you put it. I don't know. You eat it, and it helps you with. It's just like unlike any other sugar. Like the taste is different, the texture is different. Okinawa dark brown sugar is just it's natural. It's made naturally. Mochi is a great dessert. Mochi is like a gluttonous rice, but rice wasn't a big part of the traditional Okinawan diet. Did have it sometimes. People that had money back in the day in Okinawa, if you had money, you had rice because you would get it on a boat when the boats would come from mainland Japan or China to give rice. But yeah, I said mochi is another one. But I could go on and on forever about all of this: trade, food, exercise, tons of stuff. But so it's been an hour. It's been an hour and a minute. Talked way more than I thought I would. And I'm so glad that you guys all came today to ask me questions and stuff. So I'm going to start doing this more regularly so I can start answering more questions and hearing more about what people want to learn instead of just guessing about what you guys want to learn. Just to let you know, anyone watching, that from soon, I'm going to start to go down this Yakuzen route. Yakuzen is the art of healing your body through Japanese food and herbs. Okinawan twist, so like Okinawan food and herbs as well. Because Yakuzen is actually a concept the Okinawans used because they didn't have doctors, but they knew how to heal themselves. And it's also a dying knowledge. The younger people don't know what foods to eat to heal themselves anymore. I don't know it. I did not know it either until I took a class and I'm getting licensed in it. It's very cool. So I can teach you what to eat depending on what your symptoms are. So like right now I have a runny nose because I just got sick yesterday. But so like if you have a certain kind of sickness, headaches and stuff, if you eat a certain diet, it will help heal that. If you look at your tongue, my tongue sounds sick. So my tongue is not looking too good. Yeah, my tongue looks terrible. It looks kind of purple. And it has the teeth grating on the side, like the indents, and then it has a weird plaque and it looks kind of glossy. That's not good. Looking at my tongue, you can tell I'm not well right now, which I know I'm not well. I clearly knew yesterday I was sick. I've been also having stomach problems for the past 2 weeks because I had some bad yakiniku, bad meat 2 weeks ago. I don't know why. So I'm going to start going to that, and then I can teach you some really cool stuff about that, like, exactly what to eat, what to not eat, what to not, depending on the seasons and stuff. This is all really, really cool stuff. So if you have any symptoms or sicknesses, email me too. You can email me anytime. I get emails all the time. I will answer and go back and forth and answer your questions. So I'm going to start going down that route. It's just fascinating. You can look at someone's tongue and know what's wrong with them. It's a cool party trick too, if you don't care about like, but it's a cool party trick at least. Or if you have patients, if you're a nurse or a doctor, it could help you with your knowledge of trying to heal people in general. Yeah, I will be doing another live next week. Gonna do once a week now. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to email me or come back to my live and subscribe to my YouTube channel and share and stuff. And yes, thank you, Will. I'm pretty sure that's your name because Will is in your when you message me all the time. So thank you for always supporting me. I'm glad that 6 to 9 people came on my live today. So that makes me really happy. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I'm gonna start my work day today because it's 11 a.m. here. But yeah, so thank you for watching. If you have any questions, I'm always here. And hopefully I will see you next week. Yutashiku unige sabira. Bye! End.